Here is your long, emotional, human-feeling story in plain paragraphs, perfect for a 4-minute Canadian audience video. Snow drifted sideways across the dimly lit parking lot, the kind of cold Canadian night where even the wind sounded lonely. Ethan, a single dad who had just finished a late shift at the hardware store, tightened his coat and hurried toward his truck. His daughter Lily, only 7, was waiting at home with a neighbor. He was exhausted, half frozen, and thinking only of getting back to her, until he heard it. A girl's voice, shaky, cornered. "Please, just let me go." Ethan stopped instantly. His breath hung in the air as he turned his head. Near the edge of the lot, in the shadow between 2 street lamps, a young woman stood trapped between 3 men. They had her surrounded, stepping closer with the kind of confidence that comes from believing no one will intervene. Ethan's heartbeat slammed in his chest. He didn't know the girl. He didn't know the men. But he knew the look on her face, fear mixed with helplessness. A look he hoped his daughter would never wear. His instincts kicked in before his thoughts did. He strode forward, voice loud enough to slice through the cold night. "Hey, step back." The men turned toward him, annoyance washing over their faces. One smirked. "Mind your business, old man." Old man. He wasn't even 40, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the trembling in the girl's hands, the way she clutched her backpack like a shield, the silent plea in her eyes begging someone, anyone, to help. Ethan didn't slow down. "I said step back," he repeated, firmer this time. The tallest man squared his shoulders. Or what? Ethan thought of Lily. The way she looked at him every morning like he was her entire world. The promise he made to himself the day her mother walked away, "Be the kind of man she believes you are." He stepped between the girl and the men, adrenaline burning through the cold like fire. "Or you deal with me," he said quietly, but there was steel in his voice. For a moment, no one moved. Then the girl whispered, almost inaudible, "Please." That changed everything. Ethan took one more step forward, close enough for the men to understand he wasn't bluffing. His stance, his eyes, his voice, everything told them he wasn't afraid to defend her. Not tonight, not ever. There was a long, tense silence. Then, like cowards often do when faced with real courage, the men backed off. "TCH, not worth it," one muttered. Another cursed under his breath. The third shoved his hands into his pockets. Slowly, reluctantly, they walked away into the darkness. Ethan didn't move until they disappeared completely. Only then did he turn to the young woman. She couldn't be older than 20. She was shaking, whether from cold or fear, he couldn't tell. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, then shook her head, then finally let out a breath that cracked in the middle. I didn't know what to do. Thank you so much." Ethan offered his coat, even though he was freezing himself. "Do you have someone you can call? A friend, family?" "My phone died," she whispered. "I missed the bus, and then..." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Ethan nodded. "Come on. I'll wait with you by the main road where it's bright. We'll grab a cab. You're safe now." They walked together toward the streetlights, slow and steady. She didn't talk much, but when she finally did, her voice carried a kind of quiet pain. "I came here for school. I thought people were kinder in Canada." Ethan looked at her. "Most are," he said gently. "But the world still has its dark corners. That's why we have to look out for each other." She smiled weakly at that, the first real smile since he met her. A cab pulled up. Before she got in, she turned back and said, with sincerity that warmed him more than any jacket could, "You didn't know me. You didn't have to help. But you did. I won't forget that." Ethan nodded, feeling a lump in his throat he didn't expect. "Just get home safe." When she disappeared inside the cab, Ethan finally let himself breathe again. His hands were shaking now, delayed fear, delayed reality, but he didn't regret a thing. Driving home, he looked at the photo of Lily clipped to his dashboard. He whispered, "I hope you grow up knowing you're never alone. And I hope someone helps you someday the way I helped her." That night, as he tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at him with sleepy eyes and said, "Daddy, why are your hands cold?" Ethan smiled. "Because sometimes doing the right thing happens on very cold nights." She didn't understand the meaning, not yet. But one day she would. And maybe that young woman, wherever she went, whatever she did next, would carry the memory of one stranger's courage and pass that same courage on to someone else. Sometimes, kindness doesn't look gentle. Sometimes it looks like standing in the cold, refusing to move, and pushing back the darkness so someone else can breathe again. And that night in a snowy parking lot, one single dad did exactly that.